Shabbat Shalom, Yasharallah. Let's blow the trumpet on his solemn feast day, the Shabbat. Y'all ready? Now and later, let's do it. Yeah, that was a solid one right there. All right. So we have part two of Second Kings line by line reading today. And before we get started, let's pray. Heavenly Abba, high in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I pray for the whole body of Mashiach and those that are struggling to be a part of the body, those are falling away from the body. I pray for each and every soul that you relay the spirit of mercy and understanding upon them, and give us more opportunities, Abba. Just extend your mercy in these times, and give us the strength and that we need to endure. Give us eyes to see, ears to hear, to separate ourselves from anything that is not of you, your understanding, your divine word, and Torah, your instructions. Guide this message through the Ruach Kodesh, and in the name of Yeshaya, Amen and Amen. Let's share screen and begin. We will be covering chapter 6 through the end of chapter 10 in our Second Kings reading today. So let's begin. Chapter 6.
2 Kings 6. And the sons of the prophets said unto Elisha, Behold now, the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Let us go, we pray thee, unto Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make a place there where we may dwell. And he answered, Go ye. And one said, Be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. And he answered, I will go. So he went with them. And when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water. And he cried and said, Alas, master, for it was borrowed. And the man of God said, Where fell it? And he showed him the place. And he cut down a stick, and cast it in thither. And the iron did swim. Therefore said he, Take it up to thee. And he put out his hand, and took it.
All right. First little story in chapter 6 here about an axe, right? And this chapter is a lot about we had in First Kings that we had a chapter or two of Elijah just walking around being used as a worker, servant of the Most High, prophet of the Most High, and he did miracles. And we get some of that in this chapter with Elisha. And I first want to start off with verse 1 here. And the sons of the prophet said unto Elisha, Behold now, the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. So too narrow, too small is the message. And this verse is a blessing. Why do I say that this is a blessing? Because once upon a time in the days of Elijah, 1 Kings 18:4, for it was so when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Most High, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave. And then also what Elijah said in chapter 19, verse 10 in 1 Kings, and he said, I have been very jealous for the Most High of hosts, for the children of Yasharallah have forsaken thy covenant, throw down thy altar, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left. So we see that there was a lot of killing of the Most High's prophets during this time through at the beginning of Ahab and Jezebel's reign as king and queen of Israel, the northern kingdom. And we see that there was a scarcity of righteous prophets. So that's what I mean when I say verse 1 is a blessing. The fact that the prophets, the righteous prophets, have returned in numbers to the amount that the place that they dwell is too small for them. So I just want to point that out, that we're in a different season of the kingdom, just from that perspective, that at least the evil kings of Israel isn't trying to slaughter all the prophets of the Most High anymore. And then we see just love for their Adon, their master, their leader, Elisha. This is all love right here. They asked, could they go into another location where they would have more space? And Elisha said, go for it. And they loved Elisha so much that they said, please come with us. And he obliged. He said, great, I'll go. So I just think that the beginning of this chapter is honestly a blessing that we see righteous prophets of the Most High on the come up, and love amongst brethren for them to ask Elisha to go with them. And now about this Acts, I want to just point out one change in vocabulary in the Septuagint in verse 5. It says, when the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, alas, master, for it was borrowed. This word in the Septuagint isn't borrowed, it's hidden. It doesn't say it was borrowed, it was hidden. So it went into the water so low, it got shallow enough or deep enough that it wasn't visible. It was hidden, according to the Septuagint. And Elisha just does a miracle, throws a piece of wood in, and the metal floats. And the only thing that I get out of that, because it just sounds like a straight miracle. He cut down a stick, so a piece of wood, and cast it thither, and the iron did swim. That's just a straight miracle. Only thing I could think of is that the stick, throwing the stick in, a piece of wood floats. And so the iron floated like the piece of wood, just making the comparison there. But either way, obviously, that's a miracle. That's not something that you can do without the Most High's blessing, right? Right, Keenan. And that's why I said the Septuagint has a slightly different angle with it. He was like, oh, it's borrowed, I need to get it. And the other one saying, oh, it's hidden, like I lost it. But so, either way, it doesn't necessarily change the story, but just wanted to show you that it does change the slight narrative with that one word, and take that what you will. All right. Verse 8.
Then the king of Syria warred against Israel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants, and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel?
All right, so I just want a couple of Septuagints, same thing, like one word. So we says here in verse 9, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. So it just says that they are there, come down there. And just to make it clear, Septuagint says they are hidden there. And that's the whole thing. This makes more sense in the sense of they're not just there, they're hidden. Meaning the king doesn't know they're there. If they were there and they were in their masses in the army in the field, it wouldn't be a secret. They wouldn't need to go tell the king that they were there, but they're hidden there. And the same going down to verse 11, just to make this much more clear, will ye not tell me who betrays me to the king of Israel? So what's happening now is the king is like, why are they avoiding this location multiple times? We see right here, not once nor twice. So that's like saying, it was multiple times that the king avoided this location because the Assyrians was there. And the king is like, something's off. Who has betrayed me? Do we have a snitch? Do we have someone that is for the king of Israel? Verse 12.
And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king. But Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them.
Listen up, y'all. This is one of my favorite parts of this week's reading right here.
And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes, that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha.
Man, that's the army of the Most High, guys. This is what you have backing you if you are on the side of the Most High. Elisha, he ain't walking around with no weapons. And he literally sees this army and says, Fear not. We have way more than what they could ever have. I mean, that's walking in the Ruach, man. And the army, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire. This reminds me to the chariot that took Elijah. 2 Kings 2:11, and it came to pass as they still went on and talked that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So these are simply angels. This is angels in battle arrayment. And we see a similar form for the army of Mashiach in Revelation 19:14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And so we have the battle horses we see, and these armies will be of fire because this is a spiritual army. And the spirit is a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29, for Elohim is a consuming fire. And Enoch gives us a look at this from the spiritual heavenly realm. Oh, I go ahead and go and read the Acts as well. Acts 2:3-4. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them, and they were all filled with the Ruach Kodesh, the Holy Spirit. So the tongue that was that looked like fire upon their heads was the Ruach Kodesh, a spirit. So yes, the army of the Most High is going to be chariots of fire, chariots of spirits, and horses that they ride upon. And then now wanted to read in Enoch a heavenly perspective of it. In Enoch 71, verse 5, and he translated my spirit into the heavens of heavens. And I saw there as it were a structure built of crystals. We hear that about the throne of the Most High and New Jerusalem, the heavenly tabernacle, crystals. And between those crystals, tongues of living fire. And I could go on in my spirit, and they saw the house of fire, and et cetera, et cetera. Every time they're seeing fire, these are living beings, spirits. So this is in a nutshell, this is what Elisha sees, and has prayed to open the eyes of one of his young men to see these fiery spirits riding upon chariots and horses, right? Verse 18.
And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto them, This is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass, when they were come into Samaria, that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, My father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? And he answered, Thou shalt not smite them. Wouldst thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and go to their master. And he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel.
All right. So simply put, Elisha, after he he prays and asks the Most High to blind the army of, what we had, Syria. There it is, Syria. That he goes straight out to him and tell him, you're in the wrong place. Follow me. I'll take you to where you need to go. And he takes him to Samaria, which is the northern kingdom. And instead of having them set up to be slaughtered, the Most High shows mercy on them. And I think this is because this army is going to eventually come back, as we read in verse 24. And it came to pass that the king of Syria gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria, right? So it wasn't long after that they went back up there. And so my takeaway from this, in a nutshell, is the army originally came for Elisha. Elisha detoured them away and sent them home. Now the army is supposed to be used to judge the northern kingdom, and that's exactly what's about to happen. So the reason why they wasn't put to slaughter based on the Most High judgment is because the army of Syria was supposed to be used to judge the northern kingdom, not to come for Elisha. So he protected Elisha and, created a structure that the Most High will get his will done. And to declare the king right here, and the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, My father, shall I smite them? So who is the king of Israel here? Just so we know, because it doesn't give us a name. So I wanted to make sure, because every chapter it could go through a new king in the book of Kings, right? And I am pretty positive here, based on the verse. The last king mentioned before this reading in chapter 6 was Jehoram, or Joram was king. And then we'll see in chapter 8 later that he is still king. So I'm pretty sure this is Jehoram. That is the king of Israel at this time. And Jehoram has some judgment coming upon him, which is about to be set up in verse 24 on.
And it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host, and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver.
Woo! I'm telling you. Let me let me see. It says sold. In the Septuagint, it says valued. I like the wording valued because it's telling you that it's valued as something that it is incredibly crazy. These are two things that isn't considered food. That's the point being made here. That there are two things on a regular that wouldn't be considered food, and it costs a fortune. An ass's head. First and foremost, a donkey is unclean. But this is the Northern Kingdom that we're speaking of as well. So they're all pretty unrighteous for the most part. But so an ass's head and a cab of dove's dung. A cab is like a container. So that's what that is. I had to look that up. I was like, a cab. Let me see what the Berean 25. What did they say it? A quarter cab? Well, still use the word cab, but yeah. A container of dove's dung. I looked into this word, and guys, it really says what it is. A bird's poop. This is madness. So a donkey's head and a amount of bird poop. What? People giving away silver for this. It's madness. I mean, legitimate madness. People are going mad through hunger here. That's what's being shown. If you haven't caught on, that's what's being relayed here. Because this is straight madness. Very unclean, very unrighteous, and it shows how sick-minded everyone's being across the board. Very crazy to even consider that, but that's what's going on here. Verse 26.
And as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, they cried a woman unto him, saying, Help my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord do not help thee, whence shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor, out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, This woman said unto me, Give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow.
Woo! Just what I was telling y'all it was coming. This is a very unrighteous people, right? They're eating their own children. This is what is written. This is showing you how dire and crazy these people are at this moment.
So we boiled my son, and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, Give thy son, that we may eat him. And she hath hid her son. And it came to pass, when the king heard the words of the woman, that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the wall. And the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Then he said, God do so, and more also to me, if the head of Elisha the son of Shaphat shall stand on him this day.
So, good point, Bruce. Obviously, this isn't the full fulfillment of Deuteronomy 28, but this is one of the judgments when you fall into a curse that will happen upon the children of Israel when they go into idolatry. And I mean, obviously, the Northern Kingdom has been there. They're about to go into captivity, but they're still getting hit by obviously some curses for what they have done. And that's why there's a famine in the land. He's not giving them water. He's not giving them food because they're wicked. And look at what they're doing during the famine. It's deserving. This is the acknowledgement of it. The famine is deserving. Look how everyone's acting. And verse 31, then he said, Elohim, do so and more also to me, if the head of Elisha shall stand on him this day. So what is happening here? After the king, because like I said, for some reason they don't mention his name in this chapter, but Jehoram listens to this story of these women fighting to eat each other's children. He says this. So what he's pretty much saying is that he's blaming Elisha for the famine and all that's happening to Yasharallah, or at least the northern kingdom, right? He's blaming Elisha because he knows Elisha is a man of the Most High, and he's pretty much blaming the Most High. But Elisha is the only person here that he can get his hands on because he can't get his hands on the Most High. And you'll see what I mean as we continue to read here. All right, let's finish the chapter, verse 32.
But Elisha sat in his house, and the elders sat with him, and the king sent a man from before him. But ere the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, See ye how this son of a murderer hath sent to take away mine head? Look, when the messenger cometh, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? And while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him, and he said, Behold, this evil is of the Lord. What should I wait for the Lord any longer?
You see what I mean? Did y'all catch that? When I was saying that he's blaming the Most High, but Elisha is the only person he can get his hands on. And that's what is being spoken. The messenger from the king went to the door of Elisha. And as he knows, Elisha knows, the Most High has told him, they come to take my head. And that's what he meant when he said that the head of Elisha shall stand on him this day. That means the head of Elisha to stand on his shoulders, to literally stand on his body. He's asking for the head of Elisha because of what's happening to his kingdom. Look, when the messenger cometh, shut the door and hold him fast at the door. So in other words, he's like, don't greet them and welcome them in. He's coming he wants my head. And while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him and said, Behold, this evil is of the Most High. What should I wait for the Most High any longer? They want Elisha's head because they're blaming the Most High. And like I said, that's the closest they could get to him. Very wicked people, right? They don't think to look at themselves and repent and return to the covenant. Instead, they get mad and want to kill somebody. The kingdom is, I mean, from the top down, if that's how the king is leading, then that's how the people are going to walk. This is why he warned his people about having a king. At the beginning of 1 Samuel, he warned them this would happen. All right. Chapter 7.
Second Kings 7. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, Tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria.
Okay, so to summarize that verse in comparison to what we just read in chapter 6, I know these because I had to do all this little research, and I was checking out the way, what's the shekel, the comparison to the silver and all of it, and the shekel is a measurements just as the 2 measures are and whatnot. So, I mean, summarizing all the research, what Elisha is saying, the cost of flour and barley is something that is manageable. It's like pretty decent rates, especially for the time that they're in. Okay. And so that's what makes this such in a crazy statement because everyone's eating bird poop. And you're going to tell me tomorrow you can go and buy some flour at a reasonable price? That's what's happening right here. And remember, we just finished in chapter 6. Elisha's talking to the man that came to his door, the messenger. And this is what Elisha is telling that man. I put it as a reference to last chapter 625 that it costs more to buy bird poop than it will be to buy flour. Think about that. That's the point. You will now be able to afford flour and barley to make bread, but yesterday you were spending pieces of silver for bird poop. Like, that's the comparison. It's pretty crazy, right? And that's why the reaction is this.
Then a lord on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof.
He makes a smart comment saying, yeah, if there was windows in heaven. And Elisha says, you'll see it happen, but you ain't going to have none. You're not going to be able to eat it. And you'll see why. Verse 3.
And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die?
All right, and just for a perspective right here, the leprous men are at the entering of the gate. So they're not in the city, they're outside of the city at the gate. And this is actually scripture. This is standard. Leviticus 13, 45 through 46. And the leopard in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip and shall cry, unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean. He shall dwell alone without the camp shall be his habitation. Shall his habitation be. And so this was obviously during the time they were in the wilderness, but the law obviously extends to their time when they're in the land in the city. And so they are outside of the gate because they are unclean because they're a leper. Is what is the whole scene being set is based on the law of why they're even there. And the fact that all of them are lepers. Think about it. 4 leprous men hanging out outside the gate. It's because that's where there was obviously a place for them to go that was unclean. Verse 4.
If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come, and let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. And they rose up in the twilight to go unto the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots, and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites, and the kings of the Egyptians, to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they were into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again, and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it.
And this is, this is the mercy of the Most High. The fact that the Syrians was camped outside, he could allow them to destroy them at that moment, but obviously Elisha had a prophetic message of verse 1 that there will be available flour and barley to feed Israel. And this is how he used the army. Think about the full picture that we just witnessed from chapter 6 to 7. He didn't kill the army that Elisha tricked to bring it to Samaria. They fed them and sent them home just for them to come back and encamp outside of Israel or Samaria, just for the Most High to scare them off and them leaving nothing but food, armor, everything. The Most High, this is what it's about when we talk about the Most High works in mysterious ways. We do not know. You could be just like, if y'all didn't catch that with the leprous men, they literally said, we have nothing to lose. We're stuck outside the city. It doesn't matter if we go in the city, we have nothing to eat. So we have nothing to lose. We're going to die. So if we go to the hosts of Syria and they kill us, we were going to die anyway. And so the whole thing is, everyone's going to die. There's nothing to lose. And the Most High flips it and turns it into a crazy blessing of abundant flour and barley to do, to make whichever you want to make with it, right? And so they see everything gone because he scared the host away. Verse 9.
Then they said one to another, We do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the port of the city. And they told them, saying, We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night, and said unto his servants, I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry, therefore are they gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, When they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. And one of his servants answered and said, Let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. Then let us send and see. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, Go and see. And they went after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned, and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord.
And remember, verse 1. Oops. My bad. Verse 1. Same chapter, prophecy confirmed.
And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate. And the people trod upon him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spake when the king came down to him.
And that is verse 2. Verse 1 and verse 2. Prophecy fulfilled in verse 16 and verse 17.
And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God, and said, Now behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And so it fell out unto him. But the people trod upon him in the gate, and he died.
It sounds like when the city confirmed that there was food, that he was at the gate, and it was like a stampede, and people just ran him over because they were starving to death. Like I said, you imagine eating bird poop, and I say it like that because I want to just make it clear cut. Dove, dong, if you want to be scripturally accurate, in hearing that you can find barley outside the gate, man, they probably lost their minds running out there. And that's how the man died. And that is chapter 7. Chapter 8.
2 Kings 8. Then spake Elisha unto the woman, whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise, and go thou in thine household, and sojourn wheresoever thou canst sojourn. For the Lord hath called for a famine, and it shall also come upon the land 7 years.
Imagine that. Crazy. They were already in a famine. The Most High gave them an abundance of food from the army for, I don't know, a week. Maybe it lasted. Just for Elisha to announce that there is a 7-year famine coming. This is a testimony of how wicked Israel were during this time. But this woman, this is the same woman, as it says, whose son he had restored. And this was in 2 Kings chapter 4. We see, just summarizing, verse 8, 35, 36. This is the woman. Yeah, this is the woman that provided food on the way for him. And when he returned and asked, he said he would bless her with a child. And verse 35 and 36 is just him bringing that child back to life. Obviously, read the whole chapter of 2 Kings chapter 4 if you missed that part or need a recap. But this is the same woman. Verse 2.
And the woman arose and did after the saying of the man of God. And she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. And it came to pass at the 7 years' end, that the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines. And she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. And the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, I pray thee, all the great things that Elisha hath done. And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he had restored a dead body to life, that, behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life.
Gehazi is the leopard. If y'all remember, this is the servant of Elisha that went and asked for those extra clothings, and he was his whole body. So right now, currently, he is completely covered in white forever. And he would know. He would know. He was there for all of this with I actually thought I put the precept there, but you can obviously go back and find it that Gehazi was the servant of Elisha that went before him with the staff and to put it on the child, and the child didn't awake, so Elisha had to go and do what he did. But so for whatever reason, the king was asking Gehazi that. And how many times have that happened in your life when you're talking about something and then boom, your phone rings, something happens, and you're like, whoa, we were just talking about you, or I was just talking about that. This is what's happening right here in this story. Right when the king was asking Gehazi the miracles and works of Elisha, he's speaking of this woman, and the woman comes knocking at the door. Verse 6.
And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field, since the day that she left the land, even until now. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Benhadad the king of Syria was sick, and it was told him, saying, The man of God is come hither.
Before we continue, I just want to make a point and point something out here. The entire point, I believe, from the setup of Gehazi being there talking to the king about Elisha's miracles was to establish this woman in her household. And I believe this woman is married. I just think they're focusing on her because she was, she was the one that showed the favor to Elisha. But the entire point of the message here is that the Most High will set people in the place that they need to be in at the right time to take care of his people. This could have been one of the few righteous people in the northern kingdom, is this woman and her family, and the Most High putting Gehazi there and putting that message on the king's heart right when the woman came to the door. And look what happened. The woman told him, and the king appointed an officer and restored her entirely. So I just want to point out that message, that how the way it happened is the Most High putting people in place to make sure you're taken care of. All right, now. So just got done reading verse 7, so verse 8. So he said, the man of Elohim come hither. This is the king of Syria now. He was sick, so this is where we're at.
And the king said unto Hazael, take a present in thine hand, and go, meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, shall I recover of this disease? So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels' burden, and came and stood before him, and said, thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, shall I recover of this disease? And Elisha said unto him, go, say unto him, thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit, the Lord hath shown me that he shall surely die.
Take as much time as you need. Without any context, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But hold your breath. It'll be answered in a few verses, because it says that he shall recover, but he shall die. Which one is it? It's both. Let's just read in context, shall we?
And he settled his countenance steadfastly, until he was ashamed. And the man of God wept. And Hazael said, why weepeth my lord? And he answered, because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children, and rip up their women with child. And Hazael said, but what, is thy servant a dog, that he should do this great thing? And Elisha answered, the Lord hath shown me that thou shalt be king over Syria.
The irony. Hazael said, but what, is thy servant a dog that he should do this great thing? And Elisha literally says, you are the dog that will do these things. You will be the king over Syria. That will be the fulfillment of that prophecy I just said to you. It's crazy how someone could listen to that and go, man, who's the dog that would do this? It's you. Verse 14.
So he departed from Elisha, and came to his master, who said to him, what said Elisha to thee? And he answered, he told me that thou shouldst surely recover. And it came to pass on the morrow, that he took a thick cloth, and dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his stead.
All right, did y'all catch that? Everyone has understanding. Verse 10. Thou mayest certainly recover, howbeit the Most High has shown me that he shall surely die. He recovers, and then upon the next day, Hazael, when it says he, who's he? Hazael. He took a thick cloth, dipped it in water, and spread it on his face so that he died. I mean, what's going on here, right? Oh man, let me refresh it. This is a form of suffocation that is even done nowadays. You probably could have seen a form of it in movies that actually has it with running water. I think it's called waterboarding, that puts a cloth over the head and pours water. It suffocates you. But if you are just using your hands and you're trying to actually kill someone, using a damp cloth is more suffocating than a non-damp cloth, as it reads. When water covers cloths over your face, it makes breathing difficult because the wet fabric blocks your airways, essentially preventing air from reaching your lungs, creating a sensation similar to drowning and triggering a reflex to gasp for air. This is why having a wet cloth over your face can feel suffocating. And so that's why he did it. So that's what all that means. And yep, like I said, they show this in movies. This is, like I said, a form of torture that doesn't, well, I don't know, it could kill him, but as we read right here, that Hazael killed the king. And so y'all know the deal. Once we make a king exchange, we go to the king chart. Let's go to the king chart. All right. Oh, I'm tripping. Excuse me, wrong king. This is the king of Syria. I'm like, wait a minute. This is not a king of Israel. This is the king of Syria. That's not going to be on the chart. All right, so verse 16 then. Let's continue.
In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did the house of Ahab. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light unto his children.
Man, verse 18. And he walked in the ways of the king of Israel, which is wicked, the house of Ahab. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Most High. I don't know how many stories the Bible can give us of the importance of your spouse. Story after story. Deuteronomy 7, this is obviously speaking to the Gentile nations around Israel in the promised land. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. We got the warning, the commandment. We have story after story. And of course, one of the most prominent, well-known stories of particularly a woman, but obviously it can go either way. Turning you away is King Solomon, 1 Kings 11:4. For it come to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. So take heed to the warning. And be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness? verse 20.
In his days Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made a king over themselves. So Joram went over to Zaire, and all the chariots with him. And he rose by night and smote the Edomites which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots and the people fled into their tents. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. And the rest of the acts of Joram, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Joram slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead.
All right. Once again, that's what I was saying, that we have two Jorams here, and they're both Jehoram. Joram is short for Jehoram. And so, like, on this chart, there's only Joram on the king of Israel. But they have Jehoram over here. But in the Bible, we see the acts of Joram, the king of Judah. And that's what I was saying, that sometimes we have back-to-back kings of the same name, and then the name has a nickname. Whoa, that can be confusing. And that's what I was saying before, that during this time, especially with these kings, it can be a little confusing. But we have a king change. Jehoram, or Joram, king of Judah, has now passed, and we have a new king. Yes, and I think there was 1 second. Yes, I wanted to read the acts of Joram in the book of Chronicles before we continue. So we stopping at verse 24, right when the kingdom changes hands. But before we continue, let's read 2 Chronicles chapter 21. We're going to read the entire chapter.
2 Chronicles 21. Now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. And he had brethren, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, and Jehiel, and Zechariah, and Azariah, and Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of Jehoshaphat king of Israel. And their father gave them great gifts of silver, and of gold, and of precious things, with fenced cities in Judah. But the kingdom gave he to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. Now when Jehoram was risen up to the kingdom of his father, he strengthened himself, and slew all his brethren with the sword, and divers also of the princes of Israel.
Yeah, y'all hearing these details? These are details that is not written in the book of Kings. So that's what I'm just showing, That's why I was like, we're going to read all of it, because there's a few points in here that we would not know unless we read it in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings, that he slaughtered all his brethren.
Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, like as did the house of Ahab. For he had the daughter of Ahab to wife, and he wrought that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord. Howbeit the Lord would not destroy the house of David because of the covenant that he had made with David, and as he promised to give a light to him and to his sons forever. In his days the Edomites revolted from under the dominion of Judah, and made themselves a king. And Jehoram went forth with his princes and all his chariots with him, and he rose up by night, and smote the Edomites which compassed him in, and the captains of the chariots. So the Edomites revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. The same time also did Libnah revolt from under his hand, because he had forsaken the Lord God of his fathers. Moreover, he made high places in the mountains of Judah, and caused the inhabitants of Jerusalem to commit fornication, and compelled Judah thereto. And there came a writing to him from Elijah the prophet, saying, Thus saith the Lord God of David thy father, because thou hast not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat thy father, nor in the ways of Asa king of Judah, but hast walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and hast made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to go a whoring, like to the whoredoms of the house of Ahab, and also hast slain thy brethren of thy father's house, which were better than thyself. Behold, with a great plague will the Lord smite thy people, and thy children, and thy wives, and all thy goods. And thou shalt have great sickness by disease of thy bowels, until thy bowels fall out by reason of the sickness day by day.
And so, one second. So we see that this says Elijah here. Let me see. Verse 12. And there came a writing to him from Elijah the prophet. So we know Elijah is no longer on earth. And so that's what makes this pretty interesting here. But I will say this. So I was like, either we have two explanations for this. One is simply a typo. That is, instead of it saying Elijah, it should be Elisha, because that makes more sense that Elisha is the current prophet. And that's possible. It is a real thing that man does make mistakes. The other thing is just simply put that it's from this one of the stories of Enoch, that it is possible to communicate to someone that has been taken up. And one second, to give me one moment, I forgot to write down the chapter and verse. So bear with me. I really want to read this. One second. All right. So this is in Enoch, I think it's 106. All right, I think I found it. Where there was is it possible to talk to or have some communication with someone taken up? Let me go. We have 106 here. Should be the birth of Noah. And let's go to verse 6. So after Noah was born, Noah looked different. And so Lamech, the father of Noah, went to his father, Methuselah, which is the son of Enoch. And verse 5, we'll read verse 5 to verse 7. Well, it just says that he begot a strange son. And it seems to me, verse 6, it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the angels. I fear that in his days a wonder may be wrought on earth. Verse 7, and now, my father, I am here to petition thee and implore thee that thou mayest go to Enoch. This is after Enoch's taken up. But there's obviously some type of idea that they knew that you could still communicate with Enoch. Mayest go to Enoch, our father, and learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is amongst the angels. See? His dwelling place is amongst the angels. This is confirming Enoch was taken up, but go and talk to Enoch, for he will know, because he is wise in his dwelling place amongst the angels. And when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he came to me. Me is Enoch. to the ends of the earth, for he had heard that I was there. And he cried aloud, and I heard his voice and came to him and said unto him, Behold, here am I, my son. Wherefore hast thou come to me? And I'm not going to read anymore because it just goes into the story. But that's just showing that it is possible that it's not like Elijah is dead. That's my point. It is possible that Elijah, according to with the testimony in Enoch, that he could write a letter, still alive and present to be to send it. So just wanted to point that out. Let me write that down. I apologize. I forgot to write that beforehand. Oh, we're in here. And that was for verse 12. Let me write that note real quick. Verse 12, Enoch 106. Says 7 through 8. All right. Oh, all right. So let's continue reading now. So just throwing it out there because I in times past I came across this verse and people use it as a contradiction or a mistake that it's a contradiction that Elijah is not there or a mistake that this should say Elisha. And I'm saying it could be neither. It literally could be Elijah that was taken up, deliver this message from a heavenly realm. And so we see that the king of Judah has been judged, and that sickness by disease from thy bowels until thy bowels fall out by reason of the sickness day by day. That sounds so bad, painful, and disturbing, but that's just how wicked Joram of Judah was. Verse 16.
Moreover, the Lord stirred up against Jehoram the spirit of the Philistines and of the Arabians that were near the Ethiopians. And they came up into Judah, and brake into it, and carried away all the substance that was found in the king's house, and his sons also, and his wives, so that there was never a son left him, save Jehoahaz, the youngest of his sons.
All right, so Jehoahaz. This is like in reverse of the Ahaziah. And so let's just go to it. This is the same son. It says that there was none left except Jehoahaz. So here, yes, Jehoahaz and Ahaziah are variations of the same name. The names both contain Ahaz, and which means to seize, to lay hold, and Jeho or Yah in the names, which is the Tetragrammaton. So it's the same person. All right, finishing it now, verse 18.
And after all this, the Lord smote him in his bowels with an incurable disease. And it came to pass that in process of time, after the end of 2 years, his bowels fell out by reason of his sickness, so he died of sore diseases. And his people made no burning for him like the burning of his fathers. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years, and departed without being desired. Howbeit they buried him in the city of David, but not in the sepulchres of the kings.
Wow, what a horrible death, but it was of Abba's will. And as we see, Jehoram reigned 8 years, thumbs down. And we're going right into his son reign, which will be a very short time. Now we're back in the book of Kings. We are at verse 25. So wanted to give the breakdown on the acts of Joram and how he died because they didn't give all of those details in the Kings. So now we know. Verse 25 now.
In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, begin to reign. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of the Lord, as did the house of Ahab. For he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to the war against Hazael, king of Syria, in Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. And King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. And Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick.
Now let's read 2 Chronicles 22. I'm going to read verses 1 through 6 for that last portion. So this is in reference to Ahaziah's reign, the beginning of his reign. Well, his reign is very short, but beginning of his reign, he teams up with the king of Israel, the other Joram. And let's go over here to see the time. And once again, I had someone ask about these. Both of these guys, these are from the internet. I didn't make these myself. These are Google right here. If you can't find them and you want me to, like, I don't know, send you this, then just let me know because they are helpful, are they not? So we see Joram is still alive, Israel, and he was alive for Jehoshaphat, the Judah Joram, and now the Judah as a Ahaziah. And we will see that their reign, these two kings, will end very closely. And so we're going to read 2 Chronicles 22, 1 through 6.
Second Chronicles 22. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his stead, for the band of men that came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the eldest. So Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction. He walked also after their counsel, and went with Jehoram the son of Ahab, king of Israel, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians smote Joram. And he returned to be healed in Jezreel because of the wounds which were given him at Ramah, when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Azariah the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram the son of Ahab at Jezreel, because he was sick.
And we'll stop there. And that will conclude chapter 8 of 2 Kings. All right, chapter 9. Let's begin.
2 Kings 9. And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets, and said unto him, Gird up thy loins, and take this box of oil in thine hand, and go to Ramoth-Gilead. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat the son of Nimshi, and go in, and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him to an inner chamber.
And just to clarify, because that's what I said, during this time frame, man, there is a lot of similar names on both sides. So now we see Jehoshaphat, and we know Jehoshaphat was one of the kings of Israel. But I'm just want to clarify that he is not the son of Jehoshaphat, the king of, not Israel, Judah. Got to make that differentiation at this time. And so we see that the Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, but the righteous king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, is the son of Asa, which was also a righteous king. So just want to make the separation. That's what I'm saying. We just got to do our due diligence and make sure we're understanding who we're talking about, because it can be confusing at times. All right. So Jehu of Israel is being called upon. Verse 3.
Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head, and say, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door, and flee, and tarry not.
1 Kings 19. This is prophetic statement. This is the foreshadowing of everything Jehu's about to be about. He was prophesied to Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19, before all of it even happened, right? And Jehu, the son of Nimshi, shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat, shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass that in him that escapeth the sword of Hazazel shall Jehu, so this is the king of Syria right now, right? Shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. So all of this was prophetic, and now, well, obviously Elisha's already been in the room for the prophets for a bit. We see that this was prophesied before Ahazel was king over Syria. So all of this was prophesied beforehand to Elijah, and now we're seeing it play out as we read. All right. So this is why Jehu's being anointed, because Jehu is about to be used as a vessel to do the Most High's will, even if he isn't righteous in his own right. Verse 4.
So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting, and he said, I have an errand to thee, O captain. And Jehu said, Unto which of all us? And he said, To thee, O captain. And he arose and went into the house. And he poured the oil on his head, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I have anointed thee king over the people of the Lord, even over Israel. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of the Lord, at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled. Then Jehu came forth to the servants of his lord, and one said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to thee? And he said unto them, Ye know the man, and his communication. And they said, It is false. Tell us now. And he said, Thus and thus spake he to me, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then they hasted, and took every man his garment, and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew with trumpets, saying, Jehu is king.
The irony. Remember, this is from Elisha, right? So the kings and the people of Israel don't like them because they're not on the same team. The prophets of the Most High are now on the same team as the prophets of Balaam. I mean, Baal or any other God they worship in, right? And so he's like, oh, you know the man in his communication? And they were like, yeah, it's false. But tell us anyway. And then he tells them it, and they're like, oh, for real? All right, yeah, this sounds good. Since it was a message they liked, it's not false all of a sudden. And I just thought it was funny because I mean that's how people do the Most High nowadays. It's false, or y'all don't like it. It's false, or we don't want to hear it unless it's good news and that you like it. Then it's like, oh yeah, let's do that. Very exciting. Verse 14.
So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all Israel, because of Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Jehu said, if it be your minds, then let none go forth nor escape out of the city to go to tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel. For Joram lay there, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, was come down to see Joram. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel. And he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Joram said, take an horseman, and send to meet them, and let him say, is it peace? So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, thus saith the king, is it peace? And Jehu said, what hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, the messenger came to them, but he cometh not again. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them and said, thus saith the king, is it peace? And Jehu answered, what hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, he came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And Joram said, make ready. And his chariot was made ready. And Joram king of Israel, and Ahaziah king of Judah went out, each in his chariot. And they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, what peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many.
Ooh. For real, what peace with the wickedness and whoredom that you have brought upon the people. There is no peace here. And thy mother Jezebel. That's the first time he mentions that that's his mother, but we know that they're in-laws in a matter, and we see that Jehoram, the son of Ahab, earlier we see that he's referenced of being related to them in matter. So if that's the son of Ahab, one way, shape, or form, then his mother is Jezebel. Yuck.
And Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, there is treachery, O Ahaziah. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, take up, and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. Remember how that when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, the Lord laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, saith the Lord. And I will requite thee in this plat, saith the Lord. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground, according to the word of the Lord.
Pop quiz. So who is Naboth? What is this referencing? Who's Naboth? Quick. What is this coming full circle? Yes, the man that Jezebel had killed because Ahab wanted his vineyard. Oh, the Most High does not forget. When you repent, he will forget your sins and be able to move forward, right? As long as we don't backtrack. But the wicked, oh, he's tracking. He's tracking all your wickedness. And this is the story coming full circle. And to clarify that, we see in 1 Kings 21, verse 1 and 17. This is Naboth in his vineyard, the place Ahab wanted. And then thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus says the Most High, hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him. So this is after Jezebel killed him and all of that. This is now the judgment, saying, Thus says the Most High, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And obviously, Ahab is already passed, but this is the completion of Abba judging what happened with Naboth all the way to right now with this the kin of Ahab and Jezebel. That's the whole idea. This is of his kin. And he's about to put into the kin in the seed of Ahab. Let's continue.
But when Ahaziah the
And so that's why the Ahaziah, king of Judah, only reigns for 1 year because he gets that judgment the same time Jehoram, king of Judah, gets the judgment at the same time. And that's why I said this is, this whole thing is focusing on the timeline. And that's why their timelines meet. They're in at the same time. And so we have Jehu becoming king after Joram, which it was the captain of the hosts. And then Athena, Athaliah, we will see her coming into power. And wanted to also go to, before we continue, now that Ahaziah's reign is over, wanted to touch on 2 Chronicles 22 before we continue. 22, 7 through 9.
And the destruction of Ahaziah was of God by coming to Joram. For when he was come, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu the son of Nimshi.
Oh, 1 second. Y'all said y'all couldn't hear me. Okay. So did y'all not hear the reading? Okay, as long as y'all heard the reading. What if I was saying something during? It was actually muted on purpose. If yeah, I did that on purpose. I was trying to talk to my wife. Don't worry about it. I appreciate y'all letting me know though. That helps. All right. So, like I said, we're just finishing off the destruction of Ahaziah here. Go a little bit back.
Went out with Jehoram against Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, and found the princes of Judah, and the sons of the brethren of Ahaziah, that ministered to Ahaziah, he slew them. And he sought Ahaziah, and they caught him, for he was hid in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. And when they had slain him, they buried him, because, said they, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no power to keep still the kingdom.
All right. And that was the end of his short reign. Verse 30 in 2 Kings chapter 9.
And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face, and tired her head, and looked out at a window. And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, Had Zimri peace, who slew his master? And he lifted up his face to the window, and said, Who is on my side? Who? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs.
Before we continue, wanted to give understanding of verse 31. Zimri, she said, Has Zimri peace, who slew his master? So what's the reference Jezebel is saying to Jehu? We see that in 1 Kings chapter 16, 8 through 10. So his servant Zimri. So in the 20th, I'll read the full thing. In the 28th and 6th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Elah, the son of Baasha, to reign over Israel. And his servant Zimri. So let's go back and we can look at this real quick. Elah, and then we see Zimri. So, and then look at the same thing. The son of the prior king, and then what is Zimri? Captain of the host. Doesn't this look familiar? Son of a prior king, captain of the host. This is the reference Jezebel saying. Servant Zimri, captain of half the chariots, conspired against him as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk. The house of Erzah, steward of his house in Tirzah, and Zimri went in and smote him and killed him. And so that's the reference Jezebel's making, that the captain has come to kill the king in treachery. All right, let's continue. So he asks who is with him, and there is 2 to 3 eunuchs that look out, that are with him, that is in the house of Jezebel. Verse 33 now.
And he said, Throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode her under foot. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, Go, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. And they went to bury her. But they found no more of her than the skull, and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, This is the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel.
And this prophetic statement was first spoken of in 1 Kings 21:23, when he reads, and of Jezebel also spoke the Most High, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Prophecy fulfilled, and finally, judgment upon the house of Ahab. All right, last chapter for this portion, chapter 10.
2 Kings 10. And Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria. And Jehu wrote letters and sent to Samaria unto the rulers of Jezreel, to the elders, and to them that brought up Ahab's children, saying, Now as soon as this letter cometh to you, seeing your master's sons are with you, and there are with you chariots and horses, a fenced city also in armor, look even out the best and meetest of your master's sons, and set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house.
Very interesting letter, guys. The letter doesn't say, we're coming for the sons of Ahab. It says, put one of them, the best of them, on a throne and come ready for battle. Okay, well, that's pretty honorable statement. You're letting them prepare for battle. And we'll see that the servants of the kings of the servants of the sons of Ahab, they're not willing to die for them. These are probably not good men, right? They're like, let's see what they have to say. Verse 4.
But they were exceedingly afraid, and said, Behold, 2 kings stood not before him. How then shall we stand?
And they're talking about the 2 kings that Jehu killed, right? Jehu just got done killing Joram and Ahaziah, right? So they're like, Jehu's on a killing spree, and we're not going to stand in his way.
And he that was over the house, and he that was over the city, the elders also, and the bringers up of the children, said to Jehu, saying, We are thy servants, and will do all that thou shalt bid us. We will not make any king. Do thou that which is good in thine eyes. Then he wrote a letter the second time to them, saying, If ye be mine, and if ye will hearken unto my voice, take ye the heads of the men, your master's sons, and come to me to Jezreel by tomorrow this time. Now the king's sons, being 70 persons, were with the great men of the city, which brought them up. And it came to pass, when the letter came to them, that they took the king's sons, and slew 70 persons, and put their heads in baskets, and sent him them to Jezreel. And there came a messenger, and told him, saying, They have brought the heads of the king's sons. And he said, Lay ye them in 2 heaps at the entering in of the gate until the morning. And it came to pass in the morning that he went out and stood, and said to all the people, Ye be righteous, behold, I conspired against my master, and slew him. But who slew all these? Know now, that there shall fall unto the earth nothing of the word of the Lord, which the Lord spake concerning the house of Ahab. For the Lord hath done that which he spake by his servant Elijah.
And I also wanted to add, we see the 70 persons, the 70 sons of Ahab. The number 70 is also used for the 70 nations. I didn't bring precepts and all of that, just wanted to touch on it. That there was 70 nations created from the Tower of Babel, according to Deuteronomy, the book of Jasher, and so on. And just so we see that number again, that the 70 people being judged and beheaded for the iniquity. I think the number is by no coincidence. I think this is foreshadowing. 70 sons, 70 nations, they're all evil, and they all will be judged for their iniquity. And this is Enoch as well. There are 70 angels that are judged over the nations in the same manner, that there will be time where they will be put to death. Now going into the deaths of the sons, we see here in verse 9, Behold, I conspired against my master and slew him, but who slew all of these? Know now that there shall fall unto the earth nothing of the word of the Most High. And so what he's saying is that, hey, this is judgment. It isn't just me slaying my master. There are others a part of this judgment over the house of Ahab, which Elijah has spoken. And when did Elijah speak that? In the same chapter we spoke earlier, in chapter 21 of First Kings. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee and will take away thy prosperity and will cut off from Ahab him that pisses against the wall, a male, all the men, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. So all the seed of Ahab perished. And that's what this is saying here in 1 Kings 21:21. And that's all Jehu was saying he did. He's like, I slayed the captain, and others have slayed the sons of Ahab, but this was all of the Most High's doing, according to the words of Elijah. All right, verse 11 now. That's a whole nother separate question, Karina. Maybe we could talk about it after the study, but it's not really answered uh, in scripture verbatim, but we'll talk later on that. All right, verse 11.
So Jehu slew all that remained of the house of Ahab in Jezreel, and all his great men, and his kinsfolks, and his priests, until he left him none remaining. And he rose and departed and came to Samaria, and as he was at the shearing house in the way, Jehu met with the brethren of Ahaziah king of Judah, and said, Who are ye? And they answered, We are the brethren of Ahaziah, and we go down to salute the children of the king, and the children of the queen. And he said, Take them alive. And they took them alive, and slew them at the pit of the shearing house, even 42 men, neither left he any of them.
Man, Jehu, no mercy.
And when he was departed thence, he lighted on Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, coming to meet him. And he saluted him, and said to him, Is thine heart right, as my heart is with thy heart? And Jehonadab answered, It is. If it be, give me thine hand. And he gave him his hand. And he took him up to him into the chariot. And he said, Come with me, and see my zeal for the Lord. So they made him ride in his chariot. And when he came to Samaria, he slew all that remained unto Ahab in Samaria, till he had destroyed him, according to the saying of the Lord, which he spake to Elijah. And Jehu gathered all the people together, and said unto them, Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu shall serve him much. Now therefore call unto me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants, and all his priests, let none be wanting. For I have a great sacrifice to do to Baal. Whosoever shall be wanting, he shall not live. But Jehu did it in subtlety, to the intent that he might destroy the worshippers of Baal. And Jehu said, Proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal. And they proclaimed it. And Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that came not. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was full from one end to another. And he said unto him that was over the vestry, Bring forth vestments for all the worshippers of Baal. And he brought them forth vestments. And Jehu went, and Jehonadab the son of Rechab, into the house of Baal, and said unto the worshippers of Baal, Search, and look that there be here with you none of the servants of the Lord, but the worshippers of Baal only. And when they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu appointed 80 men without, and said, If any of the men whom I have brought into your hands escape, he that letteth him go, his life shall be for the life of him. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, Go in, and slay them, let none come forth. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and the guard and the captains cast them out, and went to the city of the house of Baal. And they brought forth the images out of the house of Baal and burned them. And they brake down the image of Baal, and brake down the house of Baal, and made it a draught house unto this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel.
Wow. Jehu judged the whole house of Ahab, and then he slaughters all the worshipers of Baal. And at this point, you got to be thinking, how is this king of Israel not a part of the righteous kings, right? It seems like, even though they have him yellow here, which is other, but no, he ended up being an evil man, and we're about to read why. But it seems like out of the kings of Israel, Jehu had the closest opportunity to be a righteous king. But that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how righteous your works are if you still choose to do your own will at the end of the day. Think about that. Think about all the things Jehu just did for the judgment of the Most High. These are all good works, even though it is killing and whatnot. These people deserved it. I mean, we've read how wicked these people were, right? But at the end of the day, Jehu went home and decided to do what he wants to do, which let's read and see what happens. Verse 29.
Howbeit, from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, Jehu departed not from after them, to wit, the golden calves that were in Bethel, and that were in Dan. And the Lord said unto Jehu, Because thou hast done well in executing that which is right in mine eyes, and hast done unto the house of Ahab according to all that was in mine heart, thy children of the fourth generation shall sit on the throne of Israel.
All right, very interesting. So to the fourth generation, that's the mercy that he extended to Jehu. He will allow his seed to be king for 4 generations for his works. But, not like he was a righteous man, but the Most High is merciful. And we see here, Jehu, son. Oh, let's go on this one. This is why I use 2 different ones. This one is a little bit better for this one because it shows that all of them are related, as we see here. Colors indicate dynasties or same family. And we see to how many generations? 1, 2, 3, 4 of Jehu will be extended for his works, doing the judgment for the Most High.
But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of the Lord God of Israel with all his heart, for he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, which made Israel to sin. In those days the Lord began to cut Israel short, and Hazael smote them in all the coasts of Israel, from Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites and the Reubenites and the Manassites, from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Jehoahaz, his son, reigned in his stead. And the time that Jehu reigned over Israel in Samaria was 28 years.
Here we go. 28 years, and his son in his stead. And the last thing to reference, now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Jehu, the son of Hanani, who is mentioned in the book of Kings of Israel. Just wanted to mention that. Once again, there's another book. There's a book of Jehu. We obviously don't have that to my recollection, but interestingly enough, But that is all I have in the conclusion for Second Kings, Part 2, chapters 6 through 10. Tudah and shalom to each and every one of y'all for joining me. May Abba Baruch you for your obedience and seeking counsel, understanding through his divine word. Once again, Shabbat, Shalom, Yasharallah.